Hello, welcome back to Technology Review. I'm your host, Mac Jackson Jr., and my guest today is Leith Martin from Equiinet. Hello, Leith.
Nice to be here, Mac. Thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Leith is one of my newest sponsors of our show, Technology Review, and we're going to talk about some of the products and services that Equiinet offers here in Las Vegas and about their company. So, Leith, tell us about Equiinet.
Well, so Equiinet's a company that provides services, but we do it in a bit of a unique way.
Okay.
Oftentimes, in the service provider world, you have to buy all these different technologies in order to deploy different types of services. And they might be unified threat management, where you might deploy a sonic wall or something like that. Mm-hmm. You might have to buy a PBX in order to be able to get some sophisticated telephony features that you want. Mm-hmm. A wireless access point. You might have to have a sophisticated router that might be able to do certain traffic shaping and other things that you might need to do. And what Equiinet did is we, in essence, developed a technology on a single device. So on this one box, we've integrated multiple pieces of hardware platform on a single device and sell it as a service.
Nice and small, too, I noticed. It's not as big as the PCs would be.
The irony in today's world in terms of technology is that's actually an Intel Atom-based quad-core PC. It's just really small. Mm-hmm. And what we do is we take this and plug it into a business's existing broadband connection or a broadband connection that we might provide ourselves. And it's a full phone system. So an IP PBX, voicemail to email, hunt groups, ring groups, simultaneous ring, all the things you would expect in the hosted VoIP world, we can deliver on this box as well as in the cloud.
Great.
It also is a full unified threat management device. So in essence replaces a sonic wall or a watch card or some other type of device that does UTM. Mm-hmm. So that means that it has an enterprise firewall. It does content filtering as well as antivirus. Mm-hmm. It also has a hard drive on board, so some companies use it as central file storage, and we push a copy of those files compressed and encrypted in the cloud, primarily for disaster recovery in the event that something were to happen and they would actually have a data breach or data loss of some kind.
Is it SD card or is it a hard?
There's actually a hard drive inside the device itself.
Okay, yes. Spinning hard drive, great.
We also provide failover, so we can failover between two broadband connections, either primary broadband or DSL, or either fiber and broadband. Okay. But we can also deliver on the device itself LTE as failover as well. So in the merchant services world, a big deal is credit card machine has to stay up all the time.
That's right.
So what we can do is your primary connection fails, we automatically transfer that traffic to an LTE connection, and we deliver it on the device itself.
Excellent.
So we've eliminated a cradle point or some other type of failover device that you would need to do that. And the great thing is that once we deploy this device, we can actually turn on all those licenses for those services remotely. Okay. And once it's deployed, there's a significant number of different things that we can do for a small to medium-sized business.
Great. Great. Very, very good. So there are different versions of this device, or does this come to different sizes for small business or medium-sized business?
Well, there is. Now, this version here is actually what we call all IP-based, which means that there is no analog telephony integration. And actually, I did bring another box here, and this is a device that we actually called MENA. Now, MENA stands for Modular Integrated Network Appliance. Okay. And the difference between the two of these is this one actually has some customizable capability based on interfaces that are needed to integrate with legacy customer equipment. So, for example, this is entirely VoIP. All the traffic that's delivered is via VoIP. Everything that's on premise is IP in terms of VoIP phones, and we have our own brand of Equiinet phones as well. Okay. But this device is a little bit different in that this one has a PRI card on it. So what we can do is we can actually bring in the call traffic down your broadband connection via voice over IP. Right. We can actually break it out to a PRI and push it into your existing PBX in the event that you need to keep your PBX in place for some reason.
So you don't have to take out all the old equipment. You can actually continue with equipment that lots of businesses have paid for already.
That's correct. And there might be a number of reasons that they might keep that. They might still be under contract for that PBX. They might have bought it recently. They might not want to retrain staff into how to use the phones. Right. Or even they might not even be able to pull Cat5 cable because they're an older property and they just have twisted pair inside the walls. So in that case, we can deliver it on this device, and the other advantage here is we can enable the PBX to do things that it wasn't designed to do. So for example, we can do voice recording now, we can actually provide an auto attendant, we can do voicemail to email, and those are things that the PBX can't do, but we deliver that through a service that we call Intelligent Dial Tone on this device.
Intelligent Dial Tone, okay.
That's correct. And then, there are also some subtle differences between these two, in that this one has multiple gigabit Ethernet ports, which means that we can provide PCI compliance by individually addressable
and that's very important, especially
Ethernet
right now,
ports.
to have the PCI compliance.
That's right. And multi-location restaurant retail, it's a big issue for them.
Yes,
because in order for them to have a PCI compliant network, they're going to spend somewhere between $1,000 and $1,500 on hardware. They're going to have to continue to maintain that hardware, and it's going to be end of life sometime in the next 24 months.
I see.
And what we did is try to change the business model in such a way that we can deliver the hardware on a platform that we own and sell it as a service, as opposed to a piece of hardware that customers can have to buy, continue to maintain, and replace in a future date.
I see.
So we've attempted to change that business model by doing it ourselves.
Very good, very good. So what are some of your typical clients that would use one of these devices?
Well, either one of these, and actually let's talk with MENA for a minute. If a customer needs some type of telephony integration, we would more than likely use MENA, meaning they have some sort of legacy infrastructure in place that would require them to continue to keep their PBX.
Right.
We also have the ability to be able to remotely access this device on premise and make changes or configuration changes to the PBX, which is a big deal in the PBX world, because they have to pay a call out fee for a telephone guy to come out and make those changes, but we can actually do them directly on the box. So usually when legacy integration is required, or there might be some complexity in network that will require multiple Ethernet ports, we'll use this device. The other difference between this one and this one is this one actually has embedded inside the device LTE failover. So we have a card installed inside this box that can do LTE failover. This device is specifically small to medium-sized business. Customer doesn't need integration with legacy PBX, so they're going to use everything via voice over IP or SIP inside their office. But as far as functionality, they're very similar. The differences are quite frankly just hardware interfaces, but in terms of capability, they're very similar. And then for larger customers, and we can service customers less than 50 employees, no issue on either one of these devices. But for larger customers, we have a rack, a blade-mounted or rack-mounted blade that we can install in a server rack that they can use for a larger installation.
Rack-mounted blade. Wow. Okay. So we'll look at this. If you have let's say a restaurant, and if it's a franchise type of restaurant where different restaurants are all interconnected, which box would you recommend from?
Well, quite frankly, either one of these would work.
Either one of them would work.
That's right. So what we could do is, let's say you owned 50 McDonald's franchisees.
There we go.
We could deploy one of these devices on each location. We could provide phone service. We could provide PCI compliance. We could provide security in terms of unified threat management. But we can also, via VPN clients that are on these devices, connect every one of those as if they're on the same layer 2 network.
Nice. Which
Which means that if you could do 4-digit dialing between those locations, you could actually access printers on those locations, you could access files at those locations without the cost associated with an MPLS network, which is oftentimes very expensive.
Nice.
So you could use traditional broadband to create a layer 2 network and link all of those facilities together with these devices.
All right. Talk to me about security, because we talk a lot about security in this show, and privacy protection of customers' personal data. How would this device help the business owner protect their customers and employees' data?
Well, in the credit card merchant services world specifically, there's a great deal of pressure that's being pushed down to the merchant, to the actual business owner. And because of that, the issue that they have is that if they're the weakest link in the security chain, then ultimately they're the one that's going to bear the burden of that breach in the event that their credit card number is stolen. One of the biggest things about this technology, it allows them to set up those merchant services devices on a separate network in terms of a private LAN so that they can be PCI compliant, so they aren't the weak link in that process, which is a big deal in terms of cost savings. But also in terms of just making sure that every one of those credit cards are authorized, it's very important that those devices always stay up.
Always.
And having failover either to LTE or a secondary broadband connection, which what we can do on these devices, is huge, because now they can authenticate every single card. And instead of actually having a card show up in a buffer or a queue to be authenticated after the fact, then now they can authenticate real time and ensure that the credit card transaction is real. And then the other thing is that by providing an enterprise firewall, we can ensure that people don't access the network remotely, either to take over PCs or to gather information about specific individuals or specific accounts or anything else that might take place. Because oftentimes businesses make an assumption that they're not on someone's radar. They might be too small, they might be whatever, but oftentimes hackers don't want their information.
That's
they
very
want
true.
the PC because they want to use the PC to do what they want to do.
Exactly. Wow, that's very good, Leith. These are really great devices, and clients will definitely take a look at them. Why don't you tell the audience how to get a hold of Equiinet?
Well, to learn more about the company, you can actually go to our website, which is Equiinet.com.
Equiinet.com.
And it's spelled EQUIINET.
EQUIINET.
Or you can actually call directly to our office, and we have an office here in Vegas. We have
Okay.
an office in the UK as well, but we have an office in Vegas, which is 702-789-6011.
Well, very good. Well, thank you, Leith. I really appreciate your time coming on our show and everything, and tell us about the equipment here. This was Leith Martin from Equiinet. Thank you,
Nice
Leith.
to be here. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well,